crossed over into the family line when I wasn't welcome in the family line. And I should not have been there because I was a boss. Does that make sense? Like I should not have been in that spot.
You were the leader.
I should have been the leader.
Yeah.
So that's the first one is I wasn't leading my company. Now, if you are not leading your company, someone in your company is. And they may not be leading it the way you want them to be leading it.
Welcome to the Business Blindspots podcast, where we talk to industry leaders, experts, and professionals in various fields to learn about them and their journey, learn about some mistakes they've made on the way and how they adjusted moving forward. My name is James Peterson. You can find us on all major podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple, YouTube. Like and subscribe, leave us a review. We'd appreciate it. Today's guest is Mrs. Rachel Miller.
Thank you. So glad to be here.
She runs PageWheel, which is a marketing company, AI company.
Yes.
She's also very well known for her viral marketing efforts and successes, but I'll let her tell us more about that. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. You are a ball of energy.
I'm told that a lot. Yeah. I started my journey like 13 years ago. I don't know if any of your audience is moms or teachers.
We don't let moms listen. It's their band.
So I was a school teacher and I got pregnant, which is awesome and amazing. And I was so excited. And then while I was on maternity leave, I got pregnant again. That wasn't as exciting.
Me?
Yes. I was like, wait. So you go in for your anyways. So I was like, no, you're I'm not actually pregnant. They're like, yes,
you have to tell your husband to get it together.
I know.
Let's go.
What in the world? I was not. So anyways, I couldn't go back to work because that wasn't fair to them. And I was sick, and I was trying to juggle a baby and a baby on the way. And so anyways, so in the process of that, I started hanging out online because I didn't have any other options. You can't take daycare. I didn't have the money for two infants in daycare. That was not in the card. So I had to be able to have a job where I was home with my kids. And little did I know that was going to be the biggest blessing in my life because when you have nothing, when you're at zero, now everything is possibilities. And suddenly there was a whole world of possibility. Whereas before that, I had a track that I was going on in the education teaching world. I was going to be this, and then I was going to become an assistant principal, and then I was going to become this. And I had this track I thought I was on, but that was a limited track, and I didn't even realize it. So, yeah. Then I went on to grow a couple companies.
That's a lot.
Yeah. And have a couple more kids.
Let's just start with so are you from Dallas, Fort Worth area?
I'm in Fort Worth.
Okay, in Fort Worth.
Yeah. Outside Keller.
Funky town.
Yeah. It's that area in Fort Worth where all of the houses look exactly the same and you can look for miles and miles. Yeah, that's
my younger brother lives there, and sometimes I just drive right past his house because they all look the same.
It's just
yeah.
Ours is slightly bigger but yeah, we need the space. But yeah, it's a good place to raise kids.
That's interesting. I've had some guests that knew exactly what they wanted to do from high school. They went to college, they got their MBA, they were already in their industry, they had their track planned out. But I've also had a couple of guests that did reach some sort of rock bottom. And people think that's a bad thing. When you hear rock bottom, you think like drugs or alcohol or something like that. But well,
he was a blessing, guys. I really do love my kids.
Doesn't sound like that.
In that moment, though, it felt like a rock bottom. Does that make sense? It felt like all the things I had planned weren't going to be a possibility, and I did not even realize what a gift that was.
What's your husband do for a living?
He's the IT director for a local city.
Okay. Yeah. So he wasn't knocking back $5 million a year at the time.
Oh, no. I think he was actually making like $35,000 a year.
Okay. So it was...
my car actually was broken in our driveway, and I'd have to get out to go places, and I'd have to walk to take my kids to the park, right? I'd walk my kids to the park in the stroller. We had a wagon we put all the kids in, and I'd walk to the park, but I'd walk by my car because we didn't have the money to repair its transmission, so it was just sitting there.
Yeah.
That was I have to come up with something.
Yeah. That is somewhat of a rock bottom, actually, now that you explain it that way.
Yeah, it was a period.
So what was the process like? How did you sit down? Did you write a list of what are my options? I mean, what?
It gets better. I started working. I don't remember how I found my first job, but it was writing manuals for those like random appliances you have in your house. So if you have a mixer or I think one of them was a remote for blinds. they have a manual that goes in the box. Have you ever read that manual?
I would rather go back to Iraq than read that manual.
Well, there's somebody that wrote them.
Oh my goodness.
And that was my first at-home job, was writing the manuals for a Japanese company who would write it in bad English, and then I would write it in readable English. And nobody was reading them. Like I could say there's ice cream for sale. The people that I was making them for, they weren't reading what I was writing. And I knew the people who were buying the appliances and the blind thing, they probably weren't reading it either. So that was my
that
first
salaried, or did you get paid per
manual that I wrote?
Like $50?
Oh no, I think it was like 35.
Oh wow.
It was bad. But here's the thing. I got to stay home with my kids, and remember, I'm at zero, so now everything's a possibility.
Right.
So everything was possible then. I just needed to have like the blinds taken off my eyes to see there's a next step forward. And the next step forward at that moment was writing these manuals. And so that was my first step. And then
a little bit of breathing room, right?
Oh, no, it wasn't breathing room. It wasn't even anything then. But I remember telling my husband that I was like depressed. I'm not postpartum. I'm just depressed because my dream or my plans for myself, they're gone. Like, who am I now? My dreams, like what I had thought I was, my identity. I am a high school economics teacher. That identity is gone. What do I do?
So you were a high school economics teacher? Okay. Did you have any business experience prior?
No, but I was the child of entrepreneurs. And
oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So I told myself when I was growing up, I am not going to be an entrepreneur. Not like my parents. Oh, no.
It's a 100-hour-a-week job sometimes.
I saw them feast. I saw them famine. I was like, I don't want that for my life. A little did I know the feast and famine is kind of part of the fun.
Yeah.
So so I watched them grow companies, lose companies, grow more companies. And so I always knew I could do something on my own. That was always in my blood, I guess you could say.
Okay.
So I didn't have like a business class that I took, but I did have a lifetime of education that my parents
real world experience.
Yeah.
So what was next after writing manuals?
So my husband came home one time when I said I was depressed, and he's like, well, I hear that women have these things called blogs. I guess somebody had told him about blogs and how mom bloggers were a thing. And I was like looking back, I would have, like, this Rachel would have probably slapped him and said, excuse me, like, what? But at the time he's like, why don't you make a blog? And I was like, okay, I hear mom blogs are a thing. I was like, yeah, sure, I'm a mom, I could do that. So I started a mom blog, and we even misspelled it when we wrote it. Like, we called it Quirky Mama because it's like, what do you want your mom blog to be called? And I said, well, somebody in college told me I'm quirky, and now I'm a mom, so I'm a quirky mama. So, I mean, like, whoever that guy is in college, thank you. I know you probably meant it not as the best thing in the world, but I took it as a badge of honor, dude. Little did I know that'd become my identity for a while. But yeah, so quirky mom, and then I misspelled mama because that's how little thought we put into it. Yeah, I misspelled it.
How do you misspell mama?
It's MOMMA is how I spelled it. Doesn't everyone spell it that way? Well, no, actually they don't, but.
Okay.
Yeah, so Quirky Mama was my first website, and we grew that to 10 million page views a month.
Awesome.
We were getting more traffic than Disney was on their children's site. And then I went on, sold that to my business partner who came on with me and sold it to her. And then I went on to build 2, 3, 4 other sites that not all gained over 1 million. Most of them gave over 1 million in page views. All of them gained over multiple hundreds of thousands of page views. And then people little by little found out that, hey, there's this girl who works from her home with her 6 kids. Yes, we kept having kids. 6 kids. And she has these websites. You guys should find out how she's doing it, because I didn't have my face on them. I was an influencer, and I didn't even know I was an influencer. I just kind of created these websites. And
what year is this?
This was 2013 to 2019 was when I was building those websites.
This is before everyone in the world thought they were an influencer.
Yeah, I guess we were some of the OGs. Yes, I guess you could say we were the OGs. We were the first people on Facebook Live. Facebook invited us. We were the first people to do, like, I think Snapchat hired us to do Snapchats Live when Snapchat first opened.
Nice.
So we did campaigns for pretty much every big brand that you can think of. We probably did a campaign for them. Maybe not every. There were some maybe we didn't do, but.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, we were one of the original influencers. So after built the websites, people kept hearing about me. So they'd message me and say, how did you do this? And I collected those people on a list. And then eventually I was like, I'll start a program on how I grew my websites. And that's when I announced I was going to do it actually October 31st, which is like always the best time to launch a program to other moms. Do that the time when they're, trick-or-treating with their kids.
Great. Yeah. What better? It's either that or Christmas Day. What?
I could have been Christmas Day. Yeah, we sold out that night. So I sent it to 96 people. 45 of them said yes within 2 hours and gave me money because I was like, you're not actually saying yes. They actually paid me for this course I hadn't made yet. Halloween, and I shut it down at 8:30 on Halloween. I'm like, shut it down. Like, I don't want more customers. Like, what am I going to do with these 47 people that have just paid me for this course I don't have? What do I do? I was in panic mode. And I now have had over 27,000 students. So
nice.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
It's been crazy.
So we're supposed to talk about mistakes in this podcast.
Okay. Well, I'll tell them. Do you want me to tell them about my $1 million launch that I didn't make any profit on? Or do you want me to tell them about how my whole team ended up hating me and quitting at one time?
What? You had a mass walkout?
Well, not exactly mass walkout, but yeah, pretty much. That was, I cried.
What happened?
I can talk about it now, but I didn't talk about it for like 2 years. This is probably one of the first podcasts I'll tell the story to.
I would love to hear it.
Every time you see someone's success, that usually means they've fallen down at least 10 times for their success.
Mm-hmm.
And you just don't know that they kept falling down. Now, remember, when I started, I had like no money. I had 2 babies. I had time, but not really like any large chunks of time because I had 2 infants that I'm literally feeding. So like everything's a step in the right direction. So if this post failed, well, I guess I'll write another one. It's not like I'm doing anything else. So I'd write another one. If that one failed, well, what if I change this? What if I change that? And because of my economics teacher background, I loved looking at stats and telling stories through the numbers. So I was like, okay, well, what happens if I change the headlines to be XYZ? Or I add apostrophes, or I misspell a word. I accidentally did that in one of my images. I misspelled a word, and suddenly that post ran up in the algorithms. And I was like, oh, but that's because everyone's correcting my spelling for me. Wait, but now they're listening. Now Facebook's giving me more traffic. Now Pinterest is saying, wow, we're going to rank you higher. Who would have thought me misspelling a word makes me better? So it's like I just looked at the algorithm and the stats and let the stats tell me what to do next. But in the course of that, I had a lot of failures to figure out which one worked.
You listened to the data, though.
I listened to the data. So I would create content. I would look at the data. I create more content, look at the data. And then I just became a content machine. And part of that probably was because I was getting paid like $25 to make these manuals. Well, I learned how to write really quickly because I had to write in the 10-minute gap I had before the babies woke up from naps or whatever it was. I had to write really quickly to get the manuals done, and I had to write a lot of these manuals for me to be able to make, I don't know, $300 a week or something.
Yeah.
Something heavy. But I had to write a lot of them. So that taught me to write quickly, combining that with then how do I get people to watch me and how do I then make money off of that traffic? That then it's the data. So I had a ton of failures. I mean, I'm like literally the most colossal failure you could find when it comes to business. Yeah.
You're skirting over my question.
Okay, what was the question again?
You had
my whole team
a mass team walkout. Even if it was only 2 people or 30 people, that's still, that could crush any business.
It did. Yeah.
Let alone your ego, self-worth as a boss and employer.
Yeah.
That's a lot to think about.
Yeah. So what happened was I had built my team a little bit like a family, which I know they say don't make your team a family.
What does that mean?
That means that like you have a lot of loyalty with your team members, and like you take care of them as if they're a family. And guys, I'm getting emotional. Like I said, because I think this is the second time I ever told this.
You're allowed to be emotional.
I considered them to be really tight and close to me.
Right.
Instead of realizing that I'm a means to an end. I'm a means to an end of their paychecks. And that's the way it's supposed to be. So I had assumed we were closer than we were. And I probably maybe vented to them as like a friend instead of as I didn't have
I'm
a
getting
boss
triggered right now, too.
I didn't have the boss persona. I was the mom that was their friend. I was the mom who the one guy said I acted like I was his mother. Maybe I did. I'm trying to think. I think I did actually send him chicken soup when he was sick once. So like, but anyways, my point is like I crossed over into the family line when I wasn't welcome in the family line, and I should not have been there because I was a boss. Does that make sense? Like I should not have been in that spot.
You were the leader.
I should have been the leader.
Yeah.
So that's the first one is I wasn't leading my company. Now, if you are not leading your company, someone in your company is. And they may not be leading it the way you want them to be leading it.
If you are starting a business right now and you are hiring people, that might be the most profound thing that you can learn. If you're not leading, someone else is. I don't care if you're the CEO, if you're not giving the orders.
If you're not
Carry
leading your
on.
company,
Yeah.
somebody else is. And in my circumstance, it was a person who was going through some traumas. Like she was going through a divorce. She was having some major drama in her life, which then meant that drama came into the workplace and I was oblivious to it. Does that make sense? I thought I was just helping. Like I didn't realize that her leadership was causing some issues. And so in my previous launch, we did a launch model, which meant we would open the doors and we would sell. And then when Friday night came around at 8:00, or whatever the time was, we'd shut the doors and you could only buy during that week. And then the class would start the next Monday. And then we'd take the class together for 10 weeks. And then when that was over, we would have a 2-week break where we launched a promotion for the next one. Then we'd sell for 2 weeks, close doors. And we just did that cycle every couple months. And in that cycle, though, we had sometimes where I would give them bonuses. But you can't do that all the time because that's not like bonuses are bonuses. So as we grew, so I was like, okay, so we had 4 team members. Well, I gave really good bonuses when there were 4 team members because they had to work a lot harder. When there were 5 team members, I gave the same bonuses I gave when there were 4 because I figured, it's close enough. Well, then we went to 8 or 10 or 12 people. I can't remember how we doubled. I didn't have the money then for bonuses because now I was paying a lot more salaries. And they all expected those same bonuses.
Whoops.
Yeah. And I never said we're going to get the bonuses again. Like that was never in writing. But I was the family member. So they thought like we always get X amount. And then that launch, we had brought in $1 million in sales. Now, there's something called marketing math. Marketing math means you count before chargebacks. You count before like the people who refund. You count your recurring revenue, even if the recurring revenue is coming in like 6 months or something, right? So technically I made $1 million or by marketing math. I think I only pocketed $90K that time. And that was because I had affiliate costs, I had team costs, I had extra software burden. I didn't realize that when you bring in 2,000 people, what that does to your servers. And so now my storage costs, like I went from like the free account on Vimeo to the $3,000 a month account. I'm like, what? Wait, what? Like,
You just had growing overhead that's associated with growth.
Just like ballooned on me. And so all of a sudden while I made $1 million, I didn't actually pocket $1 million. So I can have $1 million net worth business that's grossing $1 million. That doesn't mean I'm a millionaire. So and in that moment, and I made $1 million in a week, but that doesn't mean I actually made that much. So my team didn't understand the money dynamics of a business owner because they're not business owners and the burdens that come with
Employees.
that. They're employees. So anyways, so they all wanted bonuses. I said, fine, I'll give you the bonuses, but that's your last bonus because you get to walk out the door. Or if you want to stay, you don't get a bonus. And they all left. They all took the bonus and left. And that was for me a time of, okay, I thought like,
shit.
Oh shit. Yeah. What's my password to this?
Yeah.
How do I get into that?
Yeah.
What is our software that we use for that and how do I turn it on? I had one EA, bless her heart, she stayed for like maybe 3 extra weeks for me, maybe 4. And I was probably the saddest, most, that was probably a really hard time. I am very, very grateful for her. Jaika, if you're listening, thank you for staying for those extra 3 weeks. But yeah.
How'd you power through that?
Well, I think like in everything, when you go to zero, everything's a step in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
So now I have like
That is as
no
zero
team.
as it gets as a business
As a
owner.
business owner,
Yeah.
that's zero because I didn't have the profit. I still had to fulfill for all these people who just purchased, and I had to make their day and like show up with a happy smile on my face
Mhm.
while I wanted to like cry and just eat Ben and Jerry's on the couch with a big blanket around me.
Sounds awesome.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I didn't get to do that, by the way. But yeah, so I don't remember that next 3 months actually. I mean, my students got results, so we were able to sell again. I knew I never wanted $1 million week again. So I think our next launch after that, I think we did 500,000 and I was really happy with it. I hired 2 or 3 people, but I never had a big team ever again. And I don't think I want one because when you have a lot of people and if you're not constantly the leader and someone else is the leader, if you don't truly trust that person implicitly, which means I have to know them for a while, I have to know what they're like, you're going to screw it up because somebody else is going to be leading it. And I don't want to lead people on that level. And again, I want to run my business. So for me, that means I'm going to have a smaller team and maybe in time we'll grow it back up again. I'm still grossing revenues that are
Substantial.
Yeah. However, I'm doing it with a smaller team, which, oh, by the way, usually means more profit if it weren't for the fact I also have an expensive hobby. So,
Well, if you have a carton of oranges, right?
Yeah.
And like one orange in that carton is rotten.
mm-hmm.
Like the other oranges aren't going to cure that one orange. It's gonna trickle around, and eventually you have to get rid of the whole crate.
It was
The
entitlement.
employees are the exact same way.
Yeah, it was entitlement. That one I really truly believe it was one person who like, we deserve this. We need these bonuses. Well, those bonuses basically meant you not bankrupt me, but took all the profit away. Every single person on my team, except for 2, made more money than me that launch.
Yeah. Also, whenever you're a leader in a business, you can never complain down the chain ever.
Mm-hmm.
You can never overshare down the chain. It disrupts the flow of leadership and the command.
Mm-hmm.
In the Marine Corps, they teach you complaints go up the chain, not down the chain, right? Yeah. And sometimes when you're the owner of the company, you just have to eat it. You can't.
There's
You
no
just
one
have to deal with it. There's no one to share it with.
There's no one to share it with. And so that was it was a lonely time. And I felt like I'd hurt my team members because I thought they were family and I thought they were friends, if that makes sense. And then I felt abandoned by my friends. And then I realized, what are you doing? They're not friends. You're a means to their end and they're a means to your end. They provided a service for you. You like them as humans, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
I've never bought into we're a family line within a company. There's a business based out of Dallas that does it really well. This guy, Chad Gono, Regal Plastics is the CEO.
Yeah.
And he doesn't talk about business as family. He just says, we value our employees so much, right? And I think that's a dangerous boundary that you can't cross, especially an entrepreneur.
Especially with a large team. So like right now, I would consider my 2 employees to kind of be family, the ones I've had for since that breakup. However, there's only 2 of them. And like, it's a different dynamic when there's 2 and not 15.
How's that?
Like you can be more loosey-goosey because there's 2 people because you can say, oh, I'm not going to be here today because I'm going to work on Saturday. I'll work late on Saturday. I'm not going to be here on Tuesday. There doesn't have to be accountability on that because nobody else is waiting for you to do it on Tuesday because it's just you. So it's more like 3 solopreneurs working towards a goal together.
That's why I found that when someone is discontent and they start counting your money, right, they get a little bit of greedy attitude about them and like, well, why are they making this and why am I making that? Look at all this work I do.
Without realizing the risk that an employer, we take the risk of feeding their families and we're the ones that will go without. We're the ones that pay the chargeback fees when the credit card company says, we're the ones that have all the responsibility. Yeah. And frankly, we work more hours if you actually add up the hours too.
What's your expensive hobby? Let's hear about it.
So I have this course company and a trading company. I help people buy on Facebook. That's what people know me for. But what I've been doing for the last year and a half, the most expensive hobby in the whole wide world is building a software company. I've been doing it without any capital funds being raised. I've bootlegged the whole thing. with my business partner, which the girl with the media company, I don't know if I told you guys, we had those websites, the viral websites. I had a business partner in those, and we're also business partners on the software. So between the two of us, we've scrounged every penny.
Yeah.
And it's been so much fun. Yes, my expensive hobby, which is a company.
Well, let's hear about it.
Yeah.
It's AI?
It's AI
Okay.
builds. Yep. So what I did is I went and looked at all of our viral traffic. What post went viral? I took the top viral posts and then went to AI. And I didn't use ChatGPT in the sense, ChatGPT, tell me what's the best. I said, ChatGPT, or not ChatGPT, because we can't use that. We go directly in. Here's our list of 20 best blog posts. Please look at this blog post and make one for a golf course. Make one for a yoga studio. Make one for an insurance company. So it looks at our best stuff that I know are guest traffic. I know how it works. I know the data on it. Then I did the same thing for our emails, for our lead magnets, for our websites. Because I'd had I don't know, maybe 140 different websites that sales pages that I built over the years. And I knew which ones converted the best and which ones were the junk. So the ones that were junk, we didn't include those. And we took the top 40 and said, make it just like these. And then AI spits it out based on our proprietary content. And so it's a lead magnet. It'll build your lead generation system, your offer page, your emails, your ads, your social media posts to promote it, give you a content plan, even tell you who the best person is to buy that product if you don't know who that person is. And it's all based on data from previous content that has done well.
Do you think you could create a training course on posting on LinkedIn via AI? Because I can tell if someone's using AI just instantaneously. I mean,
and
it's kind of annoying.
Yeah, it's so annoying. It's so annoying. You can tell. And they all have the same length of paragraphs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and the same weird emojis.
Yeah. It's
at least edit it up a little bit before you post it on LinkedIn, my guy. You know.
I don't believe we have that issue, but that's because our posts are based on our exact ones that have been written by a human in the past that we had done well for us. They're not based on what ChatGPT says a post should be. So there's a difference if you're using OpenAI or ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, and you just ask it to write a post for you, it's going to get a random one. Whereas if you ask it to create content based off of what you already know works, well, now it looks more like a human wrote it because a human wrote the original.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
He's stretching. No. This is a good one.
I've found that, when I took a break from what I do now, risk management and commercial property and casualty, and started a company, grew it and exited, I found that managing my own P&L has made me a way better salesperson, way better consultant. Have you experienced that same growth within your space?
I haven't managed my own P&L for who knows how long. My bookkeeper just tells it to me.
You did though, right? When you started?
No, I don't think I did. Okay.
You never managed your own books?
No. So what I did, this is probably the worst.
You didn't make your husband do that.
No, I didn't make my husband do it. My husband doesn't really do anything with money. So what I did is I put everything into the same credit card statement. So it's only one credit card that I use for business and everything goes on that credit card. And then I look at the bank at the end of the month and say, is there money to spend or is there not money to spend? And that's not how you should run a business. It's not how you should run a business. But for each month, at the beginning, I just did month to month until because I didn't have money. So do we have money?
There's nothing to manage.
Nothing to manage. We had expenses to manage. But then as I grew, then it became, okay, can I keep 1 month of cash in my account for reserves? And then can I keep 3 months of cash from reserves? Can I keep 6 months of cash from reserves? And then once I got to 12 months, then I put the rest of it into an investment. And I don't mean investment like I'm going to invest, which I eventually did end up buying car washes and apartment complexes and stuff like that, and try to buy a mushroom farm. If anybody knows, I've got this bucket bingo card of different businesses I want to buy. But anyways, long story short, so I have this investment fund, but that investment fund, then I put that into building the software company until, we blew through our investment fund, and now we take on clients to make whatever ends. So now it's back to a little bit of month to month. So the way my budgeting works, I know it's different, but you take the bucket from month one, and then anything that's my cost of living for that month, or I do my personal the same way as do my business. Whatever it costs me to live on in my business that month goes into my monthly expenses. Anything that is earned into that that's beyond 1 month bounces automatically into the next account down. That account has 3 months. If that account gets full, then it bumps to the 6 months.
Trickle.
Yeah, it's a
down.
trickle effect.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to touch the money until it gets into my investment fund. So that's when I can use it to invest in something else.
There's a little bit of self-discipline involved there.
Yeah. It's I just don't have access. And actually, we actually make it where I can't actually even access the money. So like, it's not that I can't access it. It's in a bank where I have to show up in person.
Gotcha.
I don't have an online password. It's very inconvenient for me. Guess what? I don't spend it very often. I'm sure they'd give me a card. So if you're listening, bank, I don't want you to mail me a card. I'm fine, thanks.
Awesome. So tell me more about the growth of your AI company.
Okay.
Where do you see it going? What are your goals in the future?
Well, I think I told you that I've had 27,000 students, and my 27,000 students purchase programs from me that range from like $100 to like $2,000.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I changed that many people's lives. The way a course works is whenever you're a course creator or a content creator for programs, they sign up. Probably 1/4 of them never really open it, because how many of us really remember passwords and remember they want to? And half of them take the course and get so-so results, and maybe 10%, maybe 5% leave. So they didn't like it. You weren't their cup of tea. I'm not a lot of people's cup of tea, because like that's the way it works. So 10% leave, 10%, 15% don't even open it. Then half of them open it. And of those people, half of them do good. But that means 75% of my audience paid me and didn't get results.
Mm-hmm.
75% of the people who purchased my product didn't get results. Like when I sit at night with that, I'm just like, I don't think that feels good.
Yeah.
That doesn't feel good at all. And that's normal course numbers. That's normal course numbers with every course creator out there.
Mm.
So knowing that I had 27,000 people pay me, some of them thousands of dollars, I want to have 27,000 people pay me $27 a month.
Okay.
And I want to change their life in 4 minutes.
Okay.
Instead of give them a program that they then have to follow these 10 steps, which y'all know they're going to stop at step 5, and call the course a success. I had amazing reviews. People said my courses were amazing. They said they loved me, but I'm looking at it thinking, but you're not having the what is the thing that's stopping you from getting the success? So I looked at the people who were in front of me, the people who were taking my courses, what's stopping them from getting success? One girl, she grew an audience to 1.4 million people.
Mm-hmm.
She never sold a product because she didn't know how to set up the payment processor. Another girl, she grew her audience to 50,000 people. Then she changed her mind because she didn't know how to sell to them. She's like, I get stuck when it comes to making my offer. So I'll just go, I think it's because I'm not in a good audience. I think my people aren't buyers. I need to move to a different place. And I open up her sales page. I'm like, well, your sales page is 7 different colors. You can't tell which one's the button. When I click on the button, nothing happened. So like the problem wasn't that you couldn't sell. The problem is like your offer's like, it kind of looks like it's a scam, but it's not a scam because I know you, but like you need some help, honey.
Mm-hmm.
So what was stopping them was I need an easy button when it comes to tech. And my business partner and I, at the same time, we need an easy button on tech because I had been spending so much time building my Facebook training program, and she had been spending so much time building her SEO program that our media company, like we had a bunch of websites, remember, they kind of were like, we're making money. And then, oh, Google made a change. Oh, Pinterest made a change. Oh, da, 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 da. And so we were going down and down, and we looked at it and we're like, you know what? We just need to sell some products on it. Well, we both know how to sell products. We both know how to create products. We just weren't.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, we got to eat our own medicine. We'll go make some. And then I'm like, wait a minute. We got to make like 47 products. Who's got time to do that? At the time, it was taking me time because I'd have to research the topic. I'd have to compile it into like a Canva or Adobe Illustrator to make a little white page. I'd have to make the lead magnet thing that says, hey, sign up for this and give me your emails. And then we're going to follow up on that email with a follow-up sequence that says, hey, we have a program for you. Da, 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 da. It'll teach you X, Y, Z. And then follow up again because people don't answer the first time. You have to follow up like 7 times. So I had to create that for every single of those 47 products. And I was like, oh, this is like so much work. And then I understood what my 27,000 students were facing because they got stuck the same places that I was getting stuck creating these products. And so I was like, with AI, at the time, guys, when I started, there was Transformer. It was before OpenAI was like public. There was Transformer. And with Transformer, I saw Transformer coming. I'm like, I could be able to do this with a button push. So let's get all of our templates ready. So when we get access to Transformer, we can turn on the button and this will work. And then I got onto the wait list, and like, I don't know, 3-4 months later, we got accepted to get to code with OpenAI. And it's their first wave of developers, and the rest has been history. So we have now, I want 27,000 people that we can change with an easy button push at $27 instead of $2,000. And we're going to be doing it $27 a person at a time. And we got about 850 right now. It took a lot longer to build than I ever thought it would.
So you're up and running now.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
I mean, we actually started coding it 2 years ago. And then last May, we started selling. But when we sold it, they couldn't access it because it wasn't working all the way because it's software. And it didn't have a back button because I didn't think about making a back button. So the back button went to a white screen. So then you couldn't do anything. It's like, I didn't code a back button. I didn't tell the coders we needed a back button. So it's like all of those things that you don't think you need because I'd never coded software before.
Yeah.
Okay, so everybody that purchased in May, 60% of them left by July. And then from July to August, we grew to about 850 users, which was such a blessing. And then in October, we were told we weren't allowed to sell under the name we were selling.
Why?
Because we lost our trademark. And the trademark office, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. You have to file for your trademark while you're in business. And then you wait 9 months to find out if the trademark office says you can use that brand name.
I hate red tape.
I know. And then I waited my 9 months and they said no. I was like, oh, but we can appeal. Like, there's so many other businesses just like this one that da-da-da-da. My lawyer said it would be possible. It's fine. Okay. Anyways, we appealed. We lost it. So the end of October, we had to stop using that brand name, rebrand. And so now we're about 3 weeks into selling again.
What name are you operating under now?
PageWheel.
PageWheel.
Yeah, it used to be called Busy, and I loved my B. I thought it was the coolest brand. But anyways, now we're PageWheel. I will learn to love PageWheel.
Awesome. So
failures. Remember I talked about failures? Like
that sounds like bureaucracy rather than a failure, but the back button, that's
that's
ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Who needs a back button? You only
everybody.
go forward.
Everybody.
Okay, it took we had 3 things. That and hitting enter in text. Like we coded it without being able. We coded it, and you can't hit enter in your text. Like
it's ridiculous.
Who does that? Anyways, guys, I was new to software.
Yeah. So you're buying a mushroom farm.
I collect companies.
Okay.
So I told you about my
Why in the
waterfall
world
tripling.
are you buying a mushroom farm?
Okay, because I heard, one, I love mushrooms, and I love all the weird mushrooms out there. So not the psychedelic ones. Like I like cooking with mushrooms and eating mushrooms.
Like a porcini.
Yes.
Okay.
I love lion's mane and the different colors of oyster ones. I love mushrooms. And then I found out how easy they were to grow, and so.
Okay.
So then, and I learned that you can't ship them all the way across the country because the way that mushrooms are, they're really fussy with temperature changes and stuff. So you can't ship them. Like somebody in Oregon can't ship me their mushrooms conveniently. It's a difficult one. So it's typically mushrooms are grown within a certain radius of where the person is because they don't transport well. So I was like, well, I live near a massive metropolitan area, and you know what? Mushrooms are in demand here, and they're actually high per ounce. So this would be a really good farm to have. And I'm trying to convince my neighbor who has a big empty barn to put in mushrooms, but we'll see. And if they do, I'll fund it, and I'll be a part owner.
Name it.
Oh, it's whatever they want to name it. I don't care what it's named.
Interesting.
Yeah. No. Okay. So the way my bingo card works is I have different types of. So I work online and I make my money online, but I don't think online life is stable. So I don't think software is stable. It's fickle. So I'll make money, I'll lose money, but I want to keep my money. I want to take my money from my companies and put them into stable businesses. So apartment complexes, I make very, very little from being a part owner in a syndicate of apartment complexes. So I'm a 100th owner in a 400 person residence, 1 27th owner, and okay, it's not big numbers, but that's stable money. If the market crashes, I can still sell that property. I can still sell, like,
It's
that's
appreciating too.
It's appreciating. It's stable. The car washes make more money than the apartment complex, but it's stable. Every month they make the same amount. Like, it's dependable revenue. So I take my money from the high risk stuff and put it into what I consider to be more low risk. And so in my bingo card, I want to have different types of businesses that are low risk businesses, just to kind of collect them and diversify. So think of it as my holding company for purchases. And one of the holding companies I would like to be a holding company or own a stake in is a mushroom farm. It's on my bingo card of businesses.
Okay. So you're coming back on whenever you get that goal accomplished. So who needs to get on PageWheel AI? Who needs to use this to grow their business? What kind of business? What kind of person? What's the value here?
Anybody who needs a lead or a list. So
Okay.
you used to work in insurance, right?
Still do?
Still do. Well,
Yeah.
your insurance agents, they need to have people that are on a list that know them, trust them, and are warm. So
Mhm.
when they're in that spot, when they're in a buying mindset, they think of you first.
Mhm.
Because people aren't going to change from their car insurance unless something happens. But you need to be in their face and in their presence and in their world.
Thanks.
You done that. But you need to be there so
Yeah.
that when they are in that buying mindset where, like, oh, life is going to change now, they're ready to choose you.
Front of mind. You've got to be
You're front of mind.
for that prospect.
So how do you stay front of mind when you don't have tech skills and you don't
Yeah.
want to make a white page and you don't want to make this website and yada, yada, yada. So insurance example, one of our people in our audience, she helps manage her husband's insurance brokerage, and they had a wildfire in their area.
Mm.
So she's like, this is the best time.
Are they up north?
They're outside Oregon, California. I think they're in Southern Oregon, and it was wildfires from California. I don't know exactly where they are. So there's a wildfire and it's coming towards her area. She knows that she could capture everyone in her town's email right now if she takes action and puts the right offer in front of them.
Mhm.
Then she can follow up with them for insurance because they've just had a life event that's a triggering for potential, like, I should probably see if we're properly insured in our house in case our house burns down. So she went and made an email, like lead magnet. What do you need in your bug out bag? How do you plan for a fire? What should you have to be ready to go? How should you prepare your house before a fire so you protect your house, protect your assets, and you can leave? So she made 2 different lead magnets. One, everything you need to leave with, and one, how to prepare your house in event of a fire. She put those out in Facebook groups she didn't even own, but in her neighborhood Facebook groups, and like, hey guys, we've got these 2 things for you if you want them right now. She didn't have a whole lot of notice that, hey, next week there's going to be a fire in your town and potentially everyone's going to be really worried about it. So you should make this ahead of time. She had an idea. She had 20 minutes notice. She knew she needed to capitalize on it now. So she put it up. She captured all the emails of everybody in her town while they're going through an event. And because she gave them a great lead magnet, now they trust her whenever it's time. Like, hey, did you want us to talk to you about your insurance? Like, to make sure you're insured and fully covered? She had these people on a list. She had their phone numbers, their emails, their names. She knew whether they were more concerned about leaving quickly or whether they were more concerned about their assets. She was able instantly to tell which ones she can talk to with which one.
Mhm.
She was able to do that because she had a lead magnet, she had a follow-up sequence, and she made it instant. Well, she didn't make it instantly because we weren't fully done yet, but yeah. That's the type of scenario where PageWheel, you just say, I need a grab and go bag for a fire situation. It will go in and say, okay, here's the things that you most likely need. You go in there and tweak it a little bit and then hit publish. And it puts it on a sales page for you. It writes your email follow-up. It takes the leads and it'll drop them into your CRM
So
for you.
that was my next question. So is there implementation from PageWheel in the follow-up sequence? And does it integrate with CRMs?
Yeah, it does the follow-up sequence for you. So you don't have to write the follow-up sequence, because if the follow-up sequence is based on that product, it'll write it for you. You can go in and tweak it and change it and put your own wording or your own flavor in, but it will actually like write it for you. So you're not having to start from scratch.
How does it compile the emails? Does it Excel? Does it put them in like Epic or Salesforce,
it sends it.
CRM.
It sends it for you. It sends your follow-up. So when they purchase, so like when someone signs up to the form, it's on a website, they sign up for the form. I want to get this handout for what XYZ. It then takes them to an offer page that says, here's the handout for the offer page. You click yes, and you type in your email, you type in your phone number if you want to have your phone number. You click complete. I want that handout sent to me. The delivery page says, here's the handout you just asked for. Here's further, you can come join our group or an upsell offer spot. And then it also sends at the same exact time an email that has that same, here's your product. It takes that lead and you can connect with Zapier into anything. So you can connect it to Infusionsoft, HubSpot, Hootsuite, ManyChat, whatever those things are, and it will follow up. MailChimp, it'll follow up with that person, but because it puts them into your CRM. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So it does all that integration it'll do for you because AI is smart enough to do all the tech. We don't have to do the tech.
Does it do LinkedIn campaigns?
It doesn't interact into LinkedIn unless Zapier has LinkedIn set up. I don't think it does. But it might connect into... It'll give you the wording, and you'd probably have to copy it into LinkedIn. It'll give you the wording for a LinkedIn post.
So this is an interesting topic, and I've been concerned about this for like the last 18 months.
Okay.
Right? So not a jab at you. I'm just interested in your perspective. So you saw it a lot in real estate, and you see it a lot in insurance now where people will get a license. Mm-hmm. And because of AI generating content for them, they don't have to generate their own content. So that you have people with limited experience and knowledge in the field able to represent themselves as an expert. And so there's kind of, for me, it's a gray area to where you're representing yourself to someone like you you have sacrificed to build your empire here locally, right?
Yeah.
And so you want someone who really knows their stuff, managing your insurance or your finances or whatever. What are your thoughts on that gray area and someone who may or may not be an expert in the industry, purporting to be an expert in the industry through the use of AI?
I think AI just amplifies who you are. So you can use AI to amplify you not being an expert. You can use AI to amplify your expertise and help you reach more people with less time. The person who's like the Rachel or like the me who has a lot of different companies and properties and stuff, I'm going to hopefully be savvy enough to tell whether it's a new agent and not a new agent. Hopefully I'll be able to savvy when I have interviews and stuff to approach them. I'm probably not the person that's going to be attracted with mass marketing because I'm at a different socioeconomic level. The introductory insurance agent, they're looking for introductory people. They're going to the masses because they're starting out. Mm-hmm. And the person who's starting out buying their first home policy, they're probably the best person for them. Yep. So everyone has at different levels, and we should kind of appreciate the person who's at the stage of, oh, I'm becoming an expert. I think of myself actually when I was first teaching. Okay, I was an expert teacher. I'd been teaching for, 18 months. I definitely knew all the stuff, everything that there was to do about teaching.
You were the SME right there.
But here's the thing. Those kids, they needed a hungry, excited 24-year-old who thought she was on top of the world and knew all the things. Like, they needed that. And they also needed the wisdom of the 65-year-old teacher who was on her last year, who'd been there, done that, and seen all their bullshit and whatever, their stories. So I feel like it's the same thing. And AI helps both the person who's been there as an expert for forever and the beginner get a leg up. So they both get a leg up to reach their perfect people, but they're both reaching different people. So it's not like the introductory person is hurting the bigger, more established person. They don't need.
I asked that question. I asked that question that way for a very distinct reason. So you probably remember. I don't know how old you are. I'm 42.
I'm 41.
So, nice.
Actually, I'm almost 42. Sorry, I forget my birthday. Yeah, sorry, we're the same age. You have a lot going
on. So remember when YouTube came out, right? And all of these SMEs and people would have decades of experience, plumbers, electricians, business people were putting out all these videos on how to do things and how to attract whatever and how to fix whatever. I remember people in industry saying that it was bad for the industry, that there was an aggregation of experience and knowledge. And look what it did. Look what YouTube enabled. I look it up. I look up all kinds of questions on YouTube. How am I to fix this? How am I to do that? I think AI is the next iteration of that aggregation of knowledge.
Yeah.
Right? Where people just integrate it into our day-to-day life. It's great. I really liked your answer.
Well, actually,
I thought you were going to try to bullshit me. So good job.
Thinking that was actually kind of fun because my 17-year-old son, quote unquote, is not going to be an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. He doesn't want to run a business like me. He watched a 21-year-old on the internet. Guys, if you're the 21-year-old or if you're my 17-year-old son, please know I'm not trying to intentionally roll my eyes at you, but I was kind of like, are you for real? You're taking financial advice from this guy who's standing in front of this Lamborghini, which you know it's not his or it's his daddy's money. And like, it's just, but my son needs to learn entrepreneurship from him and not me. Like, because he's not going to listen to me as much as I want him to.
That makes me so annoyed when I see that.
As anything.
I'm like, oh, they rented the car, man. That's not their.
Do you not see this? Like, he's a scam. Do you not see this?
It's such a scam. Oh God, I can't. And kids buy into it. Oh.
But he has the entrepreneur bug in a different way because
he's not going to listen to you because you're mom.
I know. So it is
well,
about that.
Look, this has been a great podcast. You're very entertaining. You got to come back.
Okay.
So if someone's listening to this and they might want to start their own business or they're maybe feel like they're at their rock bottom in whatever way in life, what do you think their biggest takeaway should be from your mistakes and missteps that you've made and the pivots that you've made?
Mostly just take that next step. And if the next step doesn't work, take the next step because you might need 10,000 steps to find the step. Yeah. So, but there is a step out. You just have to keep taking a step and taking another step and taking another step. And one of those steps is going to slide you right back to where you began. And you're going to have to take another step and another step. And little by little, you'll find the path out quickly. But it will just take that next step. Take that next action. A lot of times we will stop and we'll pause and we I need to take stock of where I am and then I can take a next step. No, today, do something to make your life better for tomorrow.
Awesome. So if you're interested in Rachel and what she has, go to PageWheel. Can they find you on LinkedIn?
Yep, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm not super active on LinkedIn. They can also find me on Facebook, Rachel.
You can just go to your home address, which is, just kidding. I'm sure she'll come back and tell us all about her next mushroom farm venture. But look, you were great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, James.
For more information on Rachel and the show, visit us on Spotify, iTunes, all the things. We're on YouTube. Leave us a like, leave us a review. We appreciate it. Thank you.
James, this was fun. Thank you.
Awesome.